We have Debra Christmas, who is about to come on stage. Debra is a lady, a matriarch, a woman of substance. She is a tech leader here in Canada, and I was highly privileged and honored truly to meet her just about maybe 6 months ago. But as destiny, fate would have it, she was so open hearted and really, really, really willing to accept me as a mentee, as someone who she has taken under her wings, and we will be working together in the future. She also accepted my invitation to do the keynote speech for this summit. And I need to say to everyone, this weekend is Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, meaning it's a family holiday. But when she looked at the date, she said, it's a family holiday, but you are family to me. And she decided that she was going to make the sacrifice. So, please, without further ado, as we welcome Debra Christmas, we will be playing her bio right in a few moments, and then you will welcome Debra Christmas to the stage. Thank you so much, ma'am. I am so grateful.
Vice President Executive Partner with Gartner Canada. He is a seasoned leader in the high-tech field. Her 45-year career has encompassed sales, consulting, support channels, and managing all aspects of information technology. Prior to joining Gartner Canada, Debra was Vice President of Hewlett-Packard Software Technical Sales for North and South America. She is the co-author of Please Stay, How Women in Tech Survive and Thrive, and Please Join, There's No Place Like Tech. She co-authored We Rise in Power, Amplifying Women of Color and Her Voices for Change, a compilation project coaching, and a co-founder of Women in Tech Tribe, focused on helping women in technology excel in the field. Her goal is to see equity and inclusion in this field. She is a trained co-active and John Maxwell leadership coach and is certified in Tilt 365 and the Leadership Circle, a comprehensive leadership assessment framework based on mastering leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Debra Christmas.
Today, when Funmi called me a few months ago and asked if I would kick off the event, I was very touched. We had just met a few months before, and her invitation meant so very much. And I was enthralled with the theme of this event. Her book, beautiful, beautiful book, and the great work that she has embarked on. So I thought, what could I offer? And I thought leadership. This is what I do. It's what I learn every single day. And I thought it was really appropriate to maybe have a little chat with you about leading from the soul. The Aperture is what we're going to talk about today. It's an appropriate time because we live in such a time of turmoil and uncertainty. And this time requires a new way of leading. It requires what I'm going to call boundless, heart-led leadership is what our world needs today. Why? Because the human heart knows no limits. We all have experienced love. We know love in so many ways. We love our parents, our siblings, our children, our family, our friends, our pets, and most importantly, ourselves. But have you ever felt loved at work, where somebody cares so deeply about you that you feel it in your soul? That's what I think the new face of leadership is. That's what's required in this time in our history. Imagine working in an environment that feeds your soul. What would that feel like? Because leadership is about courage. Leadership is about empathy. We hear this expression, meet people where they are. Well, that means opening yourself and encouraging others to do the same. We need to be comfortable being vulnerable as leaders and expressing our emotions in the workplace. That is part of being our authentic self and bringing your whole self to work, which is what we also hear so much about. What would you do in that type of environment? Imagine what you would be capable of at work if you felt loved. I have said many times in my corporate career, I love you. Initially, the reaction is one of incredible surprise, I have to say. They don't really know what to do. But interestingly enough, a smile comes over their face because they've realized in that moment that I didn't say anything inappropriate. I wasn't in love with them. And I now needed to walk down the hall to see the HR people. I simply said, I love them. And our version of love requires expansion because it's not just about romantic love or even family love. It's simply about love. And why? Because every single human wants more than anything to be loved and to love. No matter who utters those words, we are moved. The words alone, they touch us, even if we don't believe you. Okay? We feel something when someone says, I love you. So, what does heart-led leadership look like? Well, it's about human connections that we see in small spaces, in big corporations, in startups, in family-led businesses, at the corner store, at the church, on your sports team, or just out walking your dog. Okay? It's amazing what happens to the human spirit when somebody cares about you, when somebody sees you, really sees you, when you feel seen and you feel heard. What happens is expansion. The aperture opens even wider. So, what's your favorite expression about love? These are some of the ones that my children have heard their whole life. I love you. We say, I love you. I love you back. I love your guts. That's our favorite. Okay? I love you to the moon and back. I love you forever. We have books by these titles. We have paintings and prints that we can buy in the store. So I'm going to share a small personal story of love. I had been dating my husband for just a few weeks, actually. And in those early courtship days, he used to drive me to the airport. I traveled extensively in my HP days, so the airport was my second home. And as I was heading into security and had to say goodbye, you hug each other and you say, I'll see you in a few days. I said, I love you. I immediately felt, oh my goodness, did I just say that out loud? Good grief. He's going to think, what the heck? I barely know this woman. Of course, I turned quickly and went through security, not wanting to, look back. I didn't look back. And I stressed about this because we have this silly thing in relationships about who says I love you first. Statistically, I think women do, but I think we might wait until we hear it first, especially if we're in love with a man. I think there's a little dynamic that happens there. And then we wait for the infamous, I love you too. Well, I didn't even wait for it. I was on the move and I fretted about it when I was on the plane. And when I landed and I called him, he said, I heard you. He said, and I smiled all the way home. And of course, I love you too. I loved you from our very first date. So we had this thing from that point on. He would say, I love you. I would say, yeah, but I loved you first. And then he would respond, yeah, I love you more. And when we were getting married, we had found a sign, in a store, a local store that said, I love you more. So it's obviously a popular statement, but I couldn't find, I love you first. So my dear friend, who is now a painter, she retired from banking and she is now a gifted painter. I commissioned her to make me a sign that said, I love you first. And we put both of those signs out when we got married in our backyard. So I thought I'd share that little love story. We all love stories. Okay? Movies, cards, books, they all have love at their center because it's the basic human emotion. It is the foundation of the air that we breathe. Our children, who come into this world looking to be loved, and we love them at a magnitude that we could never have even imagined. It's about love, our human connections to each other. So I'm a voracious reader. I often leverage books in the work that I do. And part of my professional work is to deliver leadership workshops. You heard that in my intro, and the leadership work that I do. These are opportunities for me to engage with executive leaders and their teams to build leadership skills. We often talk about soft skills at work, meaning skills like relationship building and conflict management and political savviness and communicating and listening. There is nothing soft about these skills. I have been calling these skills power skills for over a decade. And now the world has caught on because I hear the term often. These power skills are at the core of impactful leadership because it's about how we treat ourselves, how we treat each other that really, really matters. Hundreds of thousands of books have been written on leadership. And I would multiply that number 100-fold on books or stories about love. But what about love and leadership? Now that's interesting. Just as I was reviewing, my talk this morning, I actually wondered, I thought, has anybody written on this topic? Well, I was pleasantly surprised that over 1,000 books have been written so far. So maybe a movement has begun on love and leadership. And one in particular stood out. It was entitled Leading with Love, the courage to lead with vulnerability, empathy, and compassion. The author is Jean-Claude Heilou, an executive that was born in Colombia and raised in Canada. I have never heard of this man before, but his book is on its way to my home. When I read the binder, this is what it said. Leading with love is a bold invitation to reimagine leadership, not as a role or a title, but as a courageous and deeply human practice, rooted in care, clarity, and connection. These power skills, there you go, there it is again, are the kind that come from self-awareness, emotional intelligence, integrity, and the ability to foster trust, even in the hardest moments. This is what human-centered leadership is all about. From every small interaction, through strategic thinking, and even in a crisis, love can shape everything. This isn't about soft skills. It's about real strength that comes from vulnerability, empathy, and clarity. It speaks to the core of living and leading authentically, and with love, something even more important in our hyper-competitive, machine-augmented world. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. I cannot wait to read this book. We all want our work to feel more meaningful. We need to lead with kindness and clarity and be vulnerable and be compassionate. And if we do that well, we will empower others to do the same. It will allow us to handle every conflict with grace. We can lead through whatever challenges that we face. And in today's world, we face challenges every single day. We're faced with incredible adversity in every aspect of our lives, at home, at work, in our communities, and certainly on the global stage. So we need to bring our full humanity to the forefront. The future of our society depends on it. Even though there may be lots of machines that we are going to be interfacing with over the next decade or two, it's our humanity that matters. We all need to be kinder. We need to be more compassionate. We need to be more patient. And we need to be open to more different perspectives. Listening more, not having to debate everything. You can have a difference of opinion and still like someone. There comes a time when being connected is more important than being right. And that applies in our personal lives as well. And leadership doesn't have to mean an executive title. My favorite leaders are children. When you see a young 7-year-old soccer player rallying his team and leading them down the field, I remember seeing a young boy do exactly that 32 years ago when my youngest son, who's about to be 40, decided he wanted to play soccer. So we signed him up. It was an incredible thing to watch this child bring his teammates together to boost their spirits, to guide them, to play in a certain way, to play to their strengths. He understood how their individual strengths came together as a collective force. I was mesmerized by this child. I just couldn't believe it. And I thought, wow, he's not gone to leadership school yet. That came innately from within him. This is what our workplace needs today. That's what our community needs today. We are better because we are different, and our strength is in all the ways that we are the same. We may be different colors, different religions, different ethnicities, but the blood that runs through all of us has one color. We need to release the fear of each other and embrace what might be the unknown as the way that we grow. That's how we grow. That's when we get a little uncomfortable, when we have to learn something new. And that is how the aperture opens wide. It opens wider when we realize that every single day we learn and we teach. When difficult circumstances arise, I first ask myself, am I here to learn or am I here to teach? Am I the star of this play or am I part of somebody else's story and I am the supporting cast? It helps me reframe things so that I can do my part and I cannot be so anxious, because we all have a part to play. Every one of us can change the world, because change happens one person at a time. Okay? Big initiatives don't make this happen. Change happens when we open ourselves. Change happens when we trust each other. Change happens when we lead. Change happens when we love. I want you to think about the love in your heart and how it feeds your soul. I want you to expand your lens on love. I want you to think about this a little bit differently than just the romantic love that we see in movies or in books. I want you to think about the pain in our world and maybe in your world directly. And I want you to anchor your soul to your heart, to let your heart open wide, open the aperture, and let the light come through. Let the warmth of the human connectedness fill your soul, because that is how we heal our souls. It's love. And as big as our hearts are, we know they get wounded. We know they are hurt, and then sometimes they're broken. But the heart can heal. We know the heart can heal because we continue to love. We continue to go forward and connect with other people. We continue to open ourselves up in a world that may not be built for us, in a world that have many struggles for us, where there are many, many hills that we need to climb. But if you let your heart open wider, and if you let that light shine through, the warmth of that human connectedness is going to fill your soul with love. You will be able to heal. You will be able to move forward in a way that maybe you hadn't thought possible. We can't shut ourselves down. We need to stay open and we need to rise through whatever gets put in front of us. And as we go into our workplaces, this is going to take a bit. It's going to take a bit for leaders to move from, very constructed ways of behaving to opening themselves up and to allow their own emotions to engage with their people, their staff, their associates. I think if we can get to that point where we lead from a perspective of love in our hearts, then leadership will, just the trajectory of the change in leadership will be something that it will be wonderful for all of us to experience. So I'm going to wrap with a small comment. If someone has not told you yet today, let me open the aperture for you. Okay? I love you for all that you are and all that you are meant to be. From my heart to your heart, I thank you.